Hey guys, Brandy Lee here. Hey, welcome back to part two of the two-part Synchronicity series. Now, in video one, we talked about what synchronicity is, how it works, and why it's important. And don't worry if you missed that. I'll link the video in the description below. But today I wanted to talk to you about the purpose of synchronicity, where it comes from, and how to interpret it. So we know from the first video that Carl Jung is or was a Swiss philosopher and psychologist who coined the term synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences that show up in our lives. Okay, for what purpose? Why? Well, synchronicity shows up for two reasons. The first, to bring us a message, um, and the second, to offer us a reflection. Now, I would venture to say that probably the messages are going to be the majority of synchronicity, especially for the majority of us. But that's kind of up for debate because each to their own. But that has been my personal experience, so it may be yours as well. When synchronicity shows up as a message, it is simply giving us guidance. We can kind of think of this like an internal counselor. Um, Now, a quick example of this would be when I saw the numbers 9 and 1. I knew because of my affinity with numerology that that meant that something was ending in my life so that something else could begin. So that really was just a message to me that to kind of help prepare me for the transition that was going to be coming down the road. Now, when synchronicity shows up as a reflection, this is more this is offering us clues to our inner world. It's where the synchronicities and signs kind of mirror our inner world, to show us the deeper reality within us. This can kind of be thought of like an emotional barometer. Okay. Um, Now, an example of this might be if you are somebody who sees, let's say, angry people. Okay, whether you're encountering them yourselves or whether you're just noticing them out and about, but that could be a sign to you that to like check in with yourself and just see like, hey, do I have some unresolved anger issues that might need to be healed. So that those are really the purpose for synchronicity. It's one of the two, and like I said, I would venture to say that probably most of us are getting messages as opposed to reflections, but each to their own. um okay, now as far as where it comes from, now granted, synchronicities are signs. I think we've well established that, but I believe all synchronicity comes from spirit. Bottom line. That's because everything is spirit. So, what we're really talking about when we ask like where it comes from is really how it shows up in our life. How does it appear to us? And there's a ton of ways. Okay. Now I've got a list here. Now it's not going to be an exhaustive list because trust and believe there's many, many more. But I've actually had personal experience with these, so that's kind of why I want to highlight them. Okay, so you can get signs through dreams, songs, um, numbers, animals, nature, through other people, whether like a direct conversation that you have with someone one on one, or if you overhear other people having a conversation, you can get signs through printed words. You can see it on a billboard while you're driving down the road. You can read it in a magazine, a newspaper. Um, Although I'm not real sure who reads newspapers anymore, but that's beside the point. Um, Radio, TV, movies, internet, social media. So, ton of ways. And trust and believe there are more. But, however you receive the signs, always know that they're going to come to you in a way that best resonates with you. Okay. And what that means is that in ways that you will receive, you'll understand the message, you'll see it, you'll connect with it. Okay. And that's because spirit wants to help us. It's not, they don't want, they talk to us all the time. Okay. And they're not trying to give us messages that they know that we can't that we can't decipher, that we can't receive, that we can't get. What would be the point? So when a message is meant for you, it will find you. Okay. And I am a big believer in this. And this is, if you take nothing else away from this video, please take this, is that when a message is meant for you, it will find you. Okay. You don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. You don't have to change your life, change your behavior. You don't have to change anything about yourself. When a message is meant for you, it will find you. And it does that through frequency. So, okay, this is what I call the rule of 3, and there's purpose in that, okay? And sometimes it takes seeing a sign 3 times before we actually make that, before we link them up, before we make that meaningful connection. And the purpose in that, the power in that, is the number 3, numerologically speaking, is a catalytic number. And what that means is that it's representative of, it changes something without changing itself. Okay, so that's what signs, that's what synchronicity is actually doing for us. It is acting as the 3, as the catalyst to bring us messages so that we then will interpret those messages and then make the necessary changes or shift in our life, okay, to better our life, to prepare us for oncoming, challenges possibly, or just to help us align with our highest potential, right, and just get us harmonious into the flow of life. Now, a great way to, here's a brief example. And I'm going to tell you this because it really hits home to the point I'm making about the rule of 3. So this actually happened to me. This was a sign that happened, 3 signs, okay, that happened within the span of less than a week. It was just a few days. And so I was getting a glass of water, right? No big. Get the glass of water, and our kitchen is a tile floor. So all of a sudden, the glass of water, it just jumps out of my hand onto the floor, and it breaks and smashes into a million pieces. And I thought, I didn't think anything of that. I'll be honest. At first, I was like, okay, shit happens. It's weird. Get another glass of water, no big. Then, a couple days later, I was standing on our toilet to hang a plant, and the toilet seat breaks. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, considering that just a few days before, I had the glass of water break. So it was the same day that I had hung the plant over the toilet. I think it was like later that same day or maybe the next day, but I was sitting at my desk in the same chair that I sit in and day out. It is a wooden chair, and I sit down and the chair leg breaks. So I'm like, okay, like, what gives? At that point, they had my attention, because I'm like, okay, glass broke, toilet seat broke, chair broke. What what gives? Well, so I'll be real honest. Those signs they weren't doing much for my self-esteem at the time, because like, shit's breaking, and well, so that got me thinking. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, why are all these things happening? They're all breaking. That was the common denominator, breaking. So it made me do a deep dive. It made me look into what was going on. Well, that's one of the ways, and that's why I bring this up, is that it happened not once, not twice, but 3 times to really hammer home that I needed to look into this. And the fact that it gave me pause, that it made me like, what the hell is going on? Why are all this stuff breaking around me? I'm questioning it. I thought it was weird. I'm like, what are the odds of that? Well, those are ways that that something is meant for, it's meant for you to take a deep dive, look at it, research it. Well, So that's basically, that brings me into how do we interpret synchronicity? And my personal experience and what I have found that works best for me is that I think it's a combo, right? I think it is, I think use your intuition, okay? Because bottom line, things, signs are only meaningful to you because you know what they mean. And there's a lot of us that will sit back and say, yeah, but I don't know what they mean. Okay. So um and that's fair. That's fair. I've been there. I'm still there. So um not that's where that's why I think it's a combo. So using your intuition, because you're the one that's really going to know what they mean, but also Google it. Google it. Research it. Look into it. Look it up in a sign dictionary, which that's not going to be much different than a dream dictionary. But look at there's a lot of wisdom that other people have that we can actually learn from, others' personal experiences. There's tons of great websites and blogs, and other YouTube channels that people can really express, like, these are the things that they've seen, and this is what it means to them. And so I reach out to a lot of them. I mean, I've got several websites that I consider favorites, especially when I get messages through numbers, especially. And so there's a lot of wisdom and insight that can come from that. And so uh, with that, my only suggestion is to take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Don't take what someone says for, don't take what they say as the gospel, as they say, um, because that's their truth. It's their interpretation. And the same with me. What I'm telling you now is it's my truth. It's my interpretation. So take what resonates, if anything, and leave the rest. That's not for you. But what resonates with you, that's for you. So definitely take that, and just know that you're the only one that's really going to know, truly, and your heart, what these signs mean for you. Okay. Now, something I do for every time I get synchronicity and when I notice it in my life is write it down or draw it. And now, trust, I I mean, I'm not a master artist, but I love the way that I draw, and it's perfect to me. I'm not putting it out there for sale, so I don't really care what other people think about it. But by drawing it and by writing it down, you're putting your energy into it. You're putting your stamp on it, and so um, it actually would be beneficial to start like a sign journal. So, or a synchronicity journal. So, anytime that you see these signs, you can note them, write them down. I always date it so that it helps me, especially when I go back and look through them, to kind of, it's a way to help track your progress, track the signs and the messages that spirit is communicating to you. And so, I, it's a wonderful tool, a wonderful, it helps attune you to your intuition. It also helps, it's a self empowerment, and a self awareness tool. So I'm a big believer in that. So, uh, that's just a couple ways that can help interpret the signs and the synchronicities that you see in your life. Um, Now, one last note, I do want to let you know that, again, I'm a big believer that spirit talks to us all the time, but also know that everything you see is not a sign. Okay. So if you, um, it, don't force it. Don't force it. Don't actively try to seek out a message. But also know that you can ask for a message. Okay. Ask your angels, the higher power, God, spirit, whatever, whoever it is that you talk to, and then, or go within, ask your higher self, ask your soul, um, like, ask for a message about anything, and then just kind of put it to the side. Just go live your life, do whatever, do something else. Don't really dwell on it, but keep that in when you send out that intention, when you're asking the message. And then just be patient. Be patient and trust, and allow that message to come to you. Why? Because when a message is meant for you, it will always find you. It will always find you. So, really, to sum it up, synchronicity is your personal connection with spirit. That's my experience. That's my interpretation of it. You can kind of think of it like spirits calling you on the phone. And so when it sends you these signs, that's the phone ringing. When you notice these signs, that's you picking up the phone, and you're answering their call. You're moving ahead toward trying to interpret and understand what that message is. And the more that you do that, the more that you notice, the more that you're going to be able to notice more. I mean, the ball's going to be rolling. You're going to be well on your way. And so, bottom line is, you'll always know, and don't give yourself the excuse and tell yourself that you don't know. You just got to be patient and give yourself some time and be gentle with yourself to, open up to the the wonderfulness, that is synchronicity. I mean, it's a direct communication from spirit, albeit through different channels, whether they be dreams or numbers or other people or animals or what have you. But again, it's our personal, meaningful connection to spirit. So, well, that's where I'll leave you today. So if you've enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. Or also let me know how synchronicity has shown up in your life for you. I love hearing stories like that. It amazes me every single time, and I never want to lose that. And I hope that you never lose it either. Always be amazed and inspired and in awe of spirit and how it comes into our life. So, I created this channel for 3 reasons. I want to inspire you to live in spirit. I want to empower you to live your fullest potential. And I want to uplift you with information that will help expand your consciousness. So, I post videos on metaphysics, spirituality, and numerology. So if those are some things that you're into too, then subscribe. I'd love to have you. Till next time.